All right, so I went and had my conniption fit. I always do that off camera, so I won't scare any viewers. Okay, so I've got the Jeep in the shop finally. It's about 100 degrees outside, so it's nice and cool in here. It's the great thing about having your shop on your house. You have AC. The front, I think I've got everything taken off the front. It's damaged, and I've got parts ordered, and so we'll be waiting on those. But in the meantime, I had my friend that does windshield repair come and get the old windshield out so we can start working on the dash. So I've got, I'll show you here in a little bit, I don't have it in the shop, but I've got a donor dash that is not just the dash, but the whole, I bought it at a salvage yard, and it's just like the whole thing, the gauge cluster, everything, the AC controls, they just took the whole thing out. So hopefully everything transfers over from the other one to this one. But I have not been able to find a whole lot on how to get this dash out on a Renegade, so it's gonna be a lot of trial and error and just seeing what stuff pops off and try to find where all the screws are and all that. So I think we'll start by getting the console out, the center console, and I do know how to get that out. All right, so once I figured out there's one little thing you gotta do that's kind of weird. This is the piece that was down there in front of the console. See that clip right there? And there's one up here that was up there. The instructions say just to snap those off, because once you put all this back, you're using those screws that I took out to hold everything together. Those clips, I guess, are just used in assembly, but I just pushed that one in and slid it forward, and that one pushed it in and just snapped off. Same way on the other side. And once those are done, you can slide the whole console back, and then it just lifts up. And I think I'm just going to try to leave it there, because there's wires going into those back, like USB connector and a power port and all that, so it's hard to reach. If I can just leave it there and it not be in my way, then I'll just leave it there. But we'll see. If it's too much in my way, then I'll go ahead and unplug everything and get it out. But before I get too far along and trying to get this dash out, I went ahead and went over here to our junkyard dash and found out how to remove the dash from the big chunk here. And remember how I was bragging on Jeep for the good engineering on where to put the SRS module, how it's so easy to get to? Well, they just shot all that because here is a really stupid way to engineer something. Every other dash that I've ever taken out, this little piece right here that goes over the defrost, if it's not connected to the main dash, this just snaps out, and then you can get to all the, the stuff underneath that. Well, the little speaker covers snap out, but this is made onto this. So I didn't know that when I bought the salvage yard dash. And I saw this when I was picking it up, but they destroyed this thing, either trying to get the window out, I guess the windshield out, they destroyed. It looks like wire going through there where they're trying to saw through the seal. You can tell my guy did not do that. So I thought, well, I'll just replace those, I'll swap those out whenever I get this back. Well, the way those are put on is they are, I'll show you on a different section here. These things right here, those are like plastic studs that go through a hole, and then they melt this down and kind of turn into a rivet. plastic rivet. It's just melted plastic. That's the stud of the side on the other side. And so the only way I was able to get that off is I took a big drill bit and just put it on the edge of that and drilled, just like you take out a rivet, just drilled the top layer of that plastic off and was able to pop those out of the holes. So I've got to come up with some, unless I want to just trash this dash and go buy another one. This is kind of always the way it is. If you try to go a cheaper way, like through a salvage yard, sometimes it works out okay, but if you get there and they've got a giant chunk, like if you remember the quarter panel on the Solstices, if they take it off in a big chunk, that means it is very hard to get off, or they would take it off because they can make more money on all those other parts if they can get one part off cheaper. Okay, so if this is on that means this is hard to get off, or there's some reason you can't hardly save them. I didn't know that till I just assumed this was going to be waiting for me when I got to the salvage yard, but that big thing was, and I had driven hours to get there, and so by then I just kind of took it. But anyway, what I need to do, and I've got some of the ductwork off, unscrewed so I can get to these things easier. I've got to try to figure out how to, once I get this other dash out, how to drill this out and make sure I don't destroy it, and figure out some new way to install that on that dash. And another thing is, the person that tried to take this apart didn't know how to do it, and so they used, we've got scuff marks and scratch marks all around where the AC controls were, and it's just rough down there. I'm gonna see if this little part down here will come off, and I can replace it with the one from the other side. But this is a very difficult dash to switch out without tearing stuff up. So I would have been way better off I bought the dash and both airbags for $900, I think. The dash alone would have been like thousands, I think it was, maybe $1,200. So I probably saved $600 or $700 by buying it like this. But I would probably, I don't know, we'll see how it turns out. If I can't get it to work, then it was a bust. So got our work cut out for us. First thing I'm gonna do is clean this thing really good. I'm gonna start trying to get this one out. Hopefully I don't have to take the steering wheel off. And now I know where all the bolts are. So I'll take it out and then we'll see what we need to do about this part. So I've got all those bolts removed, and I've got the two big bolts for the airbag. You can see that or not, up there, out. And the plug's unplugged. I think that's one of the airbag plugs that blew. That's why that's hanging there. And I know this trim piece right here comes off. Did it on the other one, so we'll just pull this out and then get this screen out. There's 4 screws that hold that on. Unplug all of it, and then we'll try to reach down through that hole and pop this thing out. And then once it's out, then we can hopefully reach in and pop this out from the back, because they're all in there like really. Usually you can just, reach in and pop those things out with a tool, but for some reason these Jeep ones are in there really hard. Now I got that piece out right here, and you can see it's put in with these 4 clips, and they, like I said 2 or 3 times, they are very, very tight. So I finally got one side to pop loose, and there's just one plug that plugs in the back of that. And then I went ahead and took the big bolts out on there. So now this thing is starting to get more loose. So we'll keep working our way over. And I realized also that this thing that was in my way, the console here, I could just let it flop back down over where it was, and it's not going to affect this dash moving out when it's down. So that's handy. You can, once you get this piece out right here, you can just drop it back down and it'll be out of your way. So all right, so got all that stuff out. Here's our gauge cluster. Just one connection on the back of that. And our trim. And then we're probably going to try to leave this in here until I can get the dash out. So we've got one plug that's in the back of that. We're going to try to get out with it in. All right, so all the bolts are out. Dash is loose. The hardest clip to get out, or the plug, was this one that goes behind the light switch, because of all the plugs, there's only one that's got this little locking tab on it. It's the one you can't see. So I was able to get something, a little pick through one of these holes where I could see it with the light and just flick it forward, and then I could reach it and squeeze it in. So that's out. Now the hard part's going to be, can we get it out around the steering wheel? So do some moving around and see if it'll come out. All right, well, it is out. I'm not sure if that's the way you're supposed to do it or not, but the steering wheel is still in and it is out. But I have a feeling putting the new one in is going to be a lot harder than getting the old one out, just because of the way all this mess right here had to go through there. Very hard to get it to go. So that's what a Jeep Renegade dash looks like with no dash in it. Lots of wires. And so now the next step is to get the dash I just took out. So we need to get that out of it. And then we need to see if there's a way to get that bottom piece uninstalled from the dash and use it on that one, because that one is so rough from those guys trying to get it apart. And just see what we can get done. We got to get this piece right here off of it and then try to figure out a way to get it attached to the salvage one. So we got a lot of work to do outside the car now. So all right, so I finally got this stupid thing out. That was a killer. The trick is you've got to get all these little tabs pushed in, and they pretty much have to all be pushed in at the same time. I was worried about tearing that up. So that's good, got that out. So now let's work on trying to figure out this defrost vent spot. Well, that did not work. Here's our piece, had it almost all the way out fine, and then right at the very end it cracked. So that is toast. All right, so I went and had my conniption fit. I always do that off camera, so I won't scare any viewers. And went ahead and ordered another dash. So we'll have 3 dashes in here. But I think I told you this before, I'm not sure, but this vehicle is for my daughter, and so I'm really trying to do it least cost possible for her. What I ended up having in this, I spent $900 for the dash at the salvage yard, but that came with all 3 good airbags, the steering wheel one, the knee one, and the dash one. So I got those, which if I would have bought them new from the dealer, it would have been more than that just for the airbags. So it's kind of like a wash. So I've got 3 good airbags. I ordered another dash, which I told you before, it's dangerous to do this from a salvage yard, but I've got another salvage yard that delivers to my area. So I found another dash for $340. So I'll still be okay if this other dash comes in and it's good. If it comes in and it's bad, since they delivered to my area, I can just send it back. So, and I put a little note on there when I placed the order to make sure that the defrost panel was in good shape. So we'll see what happens when that comes in. But for now, I've taken all the good parts off of these. I've got airbag, the vents, all the different stuff that came out of that dash. It's all good. So I've got it laying here. So these I can just get out of my way and then wait for the next ones to come in. Okay, so our new Jeep dash came in today. I have not unwrapped it yet, but I do see one thing right there that's good. Check that out. There's an airbag in that one already. So that means I have another airbag that I can sell and try to recoup some of my costs. So I didn't think there was supposed to be an airbag in with that one. So let's unwrap it, and man, I hope this thing is in good shape. All right, so here it is. It's definitely better than the last one that I got. They got everything out for me. I got another one of those that I worked so hard to get the other one out, and it's the exact same controls. So, and this dash actually came off of a 17, and mine's a 16, so I'll probably just leave that one in there. So I'm trying to get that one out. I could sell this one. I'll remove this and put the one from her car in there since it's like new. And I'll remove this and put hers in. I'll probably go ahead and take that out, put hers in there since I know it works. Here's the big kahuna down here, the thing that we're worried about. And it's got some scratches right here, probably done in shipping. So I might sand that and use some of my plastic coating on there, but it is real. There's not much. There's that spot and a little one over there, so 1,000 times better than that other one. Just really dirty. So, and they also left the speakers in there, so I got 6 sets of speakers. So all in all, that's pretty good. So let's do some cleanup on it and figure out what we're going to do on those scratches down there, and then start getting it ready to be installed. All right, so I've been working on this dash. It sure would be nice just get something in where you can just put it in so you don't have to work on it. But I went ahead and sanded this big gash out over here and filled it there, and those scratches right there. We'll let that dry for a little bit, tape up this top part of the dash, and spray this with this plastic paint that I've used before. It's really good. So hopefully that will be the end of that and we can get it installed. All right, so I've got that fixed and painted. Looks pretty good. So I'll let that dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead, get back in here and change the cabin filter while I'm thinking about it. The other one was full of leaves and stuff, so you have to take the glove box all the way out, which, I mean, it's not super hard, but it's not easy, so it's way back up in there. It's time to hoist that baby up here and get it through the windshield and see if I can get it finagled around. The hardest part is getting it around that little piece of the steering wheel there, so I don't have to take the steering wheel out. But let's get it in there and see if we can get it installed. All right, so I've got the dash all where it's supposed to be, and I've got all these little, or the big screws started. I'll start reinstalling all the little components here. Probably start with the speakers up that way and go down and get this reinstalled, and then just work my way down. All right, so I'm ready to put some power to this thing, make sure all these different things work. Now remember, we still don't have our SRS module in, so it's still going to show that the airbags are not functioning. But I just want to make sure, you know, all the other controls work before we totally get this back together. Okay, looks like we got power everywhere. So everything looks normal. Got light switch works, because remember that was on the other dash. Check our horn. All right. So looks good. So lots of stuff to snap back together. That usually goes pretty fast. Thanks for watching this episode of Rebuild It. Hope you enjoyed it. We got the dash all back together this week, and everything's good. Everything works. No warning lights, so that's always a plus. And so next time we'll start working on the front. We got to get all the body panels back on and see what's going on up front. Hopefully everything is there. You always, when you're starting to put it back together, you never know like what you're missing, but hopefully we've got everything here. So hopefully next time you'll see it looking like a Jeep again. And until then, we'll see you next week. And make sure you give us a thumbs up down below if you enjoyed the video. See you next week.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.